Welcome back, everybody. I'm Follygon, and today we're going to be creating some clothing, or at least one article of clothing here. We're going to be making a tank top for our character here. We will be using a tool or part of ZBrush called extract, and how that works is using a mask and then extracting geometry from a part or piece or subtool or geometry, so many different names for it, that you already have. So I start off here by using that mask lasso tool that I talk about so very often, and I'm just kind of trying to hide some subtools so I can exactly see what's going on here. And I'm also going to use my mask pen just to kind of clean up some areas, and then go ahead and do an extraction. And I turn off double. I would recommend that you do that as well. Double's going to make it only pop out. Double turned off will only make the geometry extract out, but if you have double on, it will extract out and also into your mesh. You may want that though, so I don't know. After doing that, I'm just using the default values here for extraction. I perform a Z-remesh. And when I perform that Z-remesh, I check that little box there to keep groups. That's going to keep all my poly groups. This is very important. If you look here at my mesh, now you can see that I have this lower poly version of what I had previously, but it also retains those edges extremely well, and that's what that keep groups function does in Z-remesher. I use this all the time. And I'm just using the Z modeler brush. I'm not sure if you've used this tool before, but what I'm using it for is creating creases. There's other ways that you can do creasing in ZBrush, but this is my preferred method. You can also use selection tools and all sorts of other stuff. But yeah, just trying out some creasing in different areas. This would work a lot better if I had some clean topology flow, or just better control over my topology, but it really doesn't matter. The only place I really need a crease or desire to have a crease is up here at the seam of the shirt. I want it to be pretty tight and strong up there, and after creasing that, I just use some masking tools again to kind of make sure that I can't affect certain parts that shouldn't move on the clothing, and just kind of trying to base it out, get it into a place where I like. And I'm not super happy with the shape that I have right now of the tank top. So what I end up using, and you know, I did all that creasing and stuff, doesn't really matter though, because I'm gonna lose it all when I dynamesh it and close holes and all that other stuff. And the reason I'm gonna do all that is because I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut this shirt up. And I'm going to use a slice curve brush, but we'll look at that in a sec. So I am just using my mask tool because I'm noticing that under the armpits here, you know, we got a really weird transition, so I would like to kind of smooth that out. So I literally just use my smooth brush, or actually I use the alternate smooth here, holding shift to smooth and then letting go of shift to do that. It's just a little bit of a less destructive smooth. And then I just kind of trim that edge down, trim dynamic brush, as well as kind of building up the rest of that form. If you look at the silhouette here, it's not a perfect shape by any means, but it's getting closer. So I want to kind of even that out, get a little bit of a cleaner profile or silhouette there. You can see it's a little warbly, like I said in the previous episode. That's my word to describe an uneven surface, I guess. So cleaning that up a little bit. Looking at the rib cage now, we're definitely gonna have to do something. It's just a bust, so we might do like a cool stand, or let me know down in the comments if you would like to do something hard surface with like a chest piece or a stand. A chest piece might be kind of cool. But we can look at that way later when we're kind of getting closer to wrapping up the character. We might just use a slice brush and chop off what we don't need. But anyway, looking at the shirt, it's time to kind of cut it up. I'm using my slice curve brush, and you can see me kind of start the cut here from that top corner that I pulled up. And I am doing this on the left side for a very specific reason you'll see here in a sec. But I'm cutting straight across, and that's because your slice curve or any of your slice brushes cannot be mirrored or used with any of your symmetry on. So essentially I just kind of cut that, get rid of it. So you're gonna see me use a delete hidden function there, and then I just mirror and weld it really quick. So that kind of gets the job done very quickly, but that mirror and weld, remember, it only works from the left side going to the right for the X symmetry. And for all the other ones, for all the other axes, it works from the positive to the negative, so front to back or top to bottom. From there, I did try a close holes operation, but if you saw, it looked really strange, so I didn't keep that. I got rid of that immediately and instead did a Dynamesh. Dynamesh is typically a little bit better at kind of closing those holes the way you want them to typically. So I had like that strip of a hollow of a hole going through that ridge of the top of the shirt, and Dynamesh did a really good job of closing that up. So I'll probably kind of pull out that center part of the shirt so that it's a bit more realistic, so it's not kind of hugging her so tightly. Right now it's more like a bra than a tank top, but if that's the look we want to go for, then we can play with that. But I won't do that this episode, but what I will do is kind of try to clean up some of these shapes that I've kind of cut and sliced with my slice curve brush, as well as doing a really cool method, at least in my opinion, for creating a strap for this shirt. You've seen me in the past use the clay tubes brush for a ton of stuff, and we're going to use it for something else again here. This time, instead of hair or something else, just to block out a tube or a horn or anything else, we're going to use it to make a strap. But we'll look at that in just a sec. If you see me using my mask tool here, that mask lasso, and you're wondering why I use that so often, it's because of stuff like this. If you do have the ability to kind of keep your hand steady, there's also the mask curve brush if you can't. I just prefer the mask lasso because it gives you just absolute like marquee freedom. Quick marquee select, or you know what, I'm actually not sure if a marquee selection is just a square or not. But the lasso selection is just so powerful in every situation almost. There are a couple situations in which I would maybe need the mask curve instead, but in all honesty, the mask lasso is typically much faster and much more accurate for what I'm trying to accomplish. So I'm just kind of cleaning up some shapes here. Another thing that I could do instead of just pinching this is use my move brush with back face masking on, and then kind of pull that back a little bit to get a little bit more depth there on that shape. I get a little caught up in what I'm doing here. Like I said before, I like to keep things pretty clean as I'm kind of checking stuff off the list, and unfortunately I even get caught up in that, right? So, you know, I just created this extraction of the shirt. It's okay if it's dirty. I don't need to worry about it being absolutely perfect. But the curve tube brush here that I'm using, just the normal curve tube, I'm dropping my brush modifier down to 4. This is the really cool thing that I was talking about. Maybe you don't think it's really cool. I think it's really cool. But setting that brush modifier to whatever you want, you can change the number of sides that the mesh will have. I also turned down the strength of my brush so that I can kind of flatten this tube a little bit. And from there you can see that we're able to get a pretty nifty little strap. And it really didn't take all that long. Not that much work either. And from here, you know, I just kind of throw it in real quick, and I'm pretty happy with what I get. No worries there. You can maybe flatten it out a little bit more by turning down that brush strength. That Z intensity is what I'm talking about. And from there, you know, you just click on your mesh to solidify that, delete the curve. Essentially, you can also find that in your curve menu, but tapping on your mesh does that just as well. Get rid of that extra geometry that I'm not going to need. and just mask some stuff off with that mask lasso. Again, there it is. And use the move brush to just kind of get it into place. And looking at this curve tube, the one thing that I don't like about it, and I'm not sure if you can adjust this in the modifiers, it's not something that I've really looked into all too much, but I probably should, considering it's a tool that I use so often, is getting rid of getting rid of some edge loops, I guess, but lowering the resolution of this tube. If you look here, it's got a lot of edge loops in it, and maybe not a lot, but it's got too many for my purposes here. So I'm going to end up deleting a lot of those. I'm also going to end up using some crease again with the Z modeler brush. And with that crease, I am going to go ahead and sharpen up some edges. So Z modeler, edge, crease, edge loop. Just do a few clicks, turn on dynamic smooth if you need to be able to see what's going on here. Unfortunately, that will cross through that end cap, so you're gonna have to turn off crease for edge loop complete instead of just edge loop. What you're gonna have to do is just put it on edge and then just alt click all those edges, and you can see me turn that dynamic smooth back on, and everything looks to be all good and ready to go. Make sure you don't alt click a face, because that kind of masks it off, and that's not what you're looking for. So as you can see from that front view, that's when I'm starting to look at this and I'm like, too many edge loops, let's delete some. So delete edge loop, make sure you're hovering over an edge when you hold that space bar so you get the correct action. And then just really quickly going through, I start off by just deleting about every other edge loop. I'm like, let's try half resolution. Might be an easier and faster way to do this than what I'm doing. But unfortunately, this is the way that I do it right now, and it just gives you, I think, a bit. I mean, even if there was an automatic method, I wouldn't use it in this case. But just using this as a way to kind of pick and choose where I want my edge loops and where I don't want them to be, I can kind of clean up this shape a bit. Now using my move brush, cleaning up just a little bit more. That transition that you saw from the front view isn't nearly as strong, so it doesn't look quite as janky. But yeah, I'm just kind of making sure that things make sense here. The strap is going into the shirt, not into the body. That would be a little odd. Wouldn't look very good either. So after we have that cleaned up, I think the one of the last cool little things we'll do here is start to add some color. We'll just add some color to the shirt real quick, maybe a quick material. I'll probably use the Skin Shade 4 material. I find that to be pretty good for cloth, or at least simple cloth like this. Depending on what it is or what you're going for, it can have different results. But in this case, that's what I'm going to end up using, and making a few more adjustments along the way right before I do that. So I do go ahead and grab that Skin Shade 4 material. I have it down in my quick bar at the bottom. I turn on mRGB at the top of the screen, find a nice blue to select, and just kind of cycling through. You can even start with a base coat, click on that Fill Object button, and from there you can maybe make a few adjustments, or even turn down your RGB value and start adding a small percentage of another color, which is what I like to do as well. So add that to the strap as well, and then grab our Folly Clay material, black and white. Again, make sure you set your color black to white. Make sure you set your color back to white, top left corner of that little color selector over on the left side of your screen, and then we should be good to kind of just mess with this shirt a little bit more, just making a few more adjustments. But other than that, I think we are good with this one, and we'll keep messing with stuff. Things are kind of starting to come together here in the final stretch as we start to get more and more parts and pieces together. I know this is kind of taking a long time to go through, but I do hope that a lot of this information is helpful for you guys as I go through it all in real time. I will again show you all the footage, but in the future I might start to fast forward a little bit through some of the repetitive stuff, just so you're not seeing the same thing over and over and over again. I know that can be kind of boring. So thanks for all your feedback, guys, and we'll continue to move forward on this in the next one, and I'll see you guys over there. Thanks for watching.